Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be continuing our series where we take very basic data, very plain data, and turn it into something more interesting. So in today's example, we have a very basic revenue chart behind me, just revenue aggregated by day for the month of August. So in my experience, what I've noticed is that stakeholders and business owners are very much interested in the rhythm and cadence of the purchasing of their monetizers. So what we did here is we took a pretty basic chart and added an interesting orange trend line, which represents the average days between purchases for your monetizers. So that's pretty interesting. But for sure, if you show this chart in a meeting, you're going to get an astute question, which is, how does this account for new spenders who don't have any purchase history? It would be impossible for you to calculate average days between purchases for someone that's converting for the first time. So to account for this, what we can do is make the chart even better and do stacked revenue by new spenders and existing spenders, and then just have average days between purchases for only existing spenders. And I'm going to show you how to do all of this right now in MySQL. So here we are in MySQL. This is our revenue table, so just revenue transactions. The first thing we're going to do is aggregate revenue to the player and the day. Let's make sure to add a group by since we're using an aggregate function. Okay. Let's save these results into a table. We will call the table something self-evident, like player revenue day. Here is our new table. So what we need to do now is, for every single record, we need to check to see if that player had any purchases prior to that date. If they did, they're going to be considered an existing spender, and we're going to calculate average days between purchases. If this is their very first monetization event, then they're going to be called a new spender, and they're going to be excluded from the average days between purchase calculation. So in order to accomplish this, we're going to have to join back to the same table in a self-join. If you need more information on how to do a self-join, check out my tutorial there as well. We're going to call this table A. We're going to join back to the same table, but call it table B. We always want to join on the same customer. That's represented right here. And here comes the special part. So let me explain that part of the join. So in this first row, we have a customer who purchased on December 18, 2023. What we want to do is go back to the same revenue table for that player and look for any purchases prior to or before December 18, 2023. And that is being represented right here. And for all of the past purchases for this player before December 18, 2023, we want to take the most recent one. So we're going to take the max of this value. And here is us taking the max of that value. Let's make sure this works. Great, it does. So we have a player here who purchased April 24th, 2023, and their most recent purchase prior to that was April 12th, 2023. Fantastic. And again, any players that have this last purchase date column as null is considered a new spender. This is their very first conversion transaction. So I just called that entire subselect fun, because we're having a good time right now. Only because we're getting pretty close to finishing. To get those stacked bar charts, we need to sum revenue by new spenders and existing spenders. So let's do that right now. So if a purchaser has not purchased historically, then they're a new spender. We're going to sum their revenue in this case statement. And we can just tweak one part to get the exact opposite of that, which is revenue from existing spenders. So instead of is null, is not null. So again, if this is somebody's very first purchase and they don't have any historical purchases, so last purchase date is null, then new spender revenue. If the customer has a purchase date historically, so last purchase date is not null, then that's going to be existing spender revenue. Now to add average days since last purchase. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So last purchase date is not null, meaning this spender has purchased sometime historically. Great. So then what we're going to do is we're going to see what's the difference in days between their current purchase date and their last purchase date. And we're going to take the average of that. If not, we're going to default to null instead of 0. And the reason why is because 0 is a real value and would get factored into an average calculation, whereas null isn't and it wouldn't impact the average calculation, which is what we want. Let's group by. We'll add a semicolon for good measure. But there is one thing we want to do. We want to filter this data for just August of this year, 2024. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to take today's date, August 28, 2024, and it's going to reformat this date to keep the 2024 year, the August month, and then just change the day from the 28th to the 1st. And any purchase date that's greater than or equal to that, that's going to return records for just August of this year. Fantastic, we're ready to take this to Excel now. So make sure to go to combo when you're building this chart. And instead of clustered column for new and existing spender revenue, you want a stacked bar chart. So you want a stacked column. And then average days since last purchase is going to go on the other axis. And here we are. In my opinion, I think this is a really great way to take a plain chart and make it more interesting. And not only that, with our great trend line, we can say that, hey, for this business, the general rhythm and cadence of purchasing for customers is about once a month, once every 2 months. And this is important and insightful information. Thank you very much for joining today's session. Please continue to like and subscribe.